Hello everyone! Welcome back to the channel. Today, the story of single mom Ly Hoai Ca and Officer Hùng takes a dramatic new turn. At the moment, Hoai Ca is still staying at Ha's house, the kind-hearted man who has quietly supported her and her child. But her heart is torn between three men. Hùng, the one who risked everything to protect her, diep, Tony's biological father who has returned with a desire to make amends, and Ha, the man who silently sheltered her through the toughest days. Meanwhile, Hùng is struggling under the crushing weight of the debts left by his mother. Sleepless nights, relentless debt collection calls. Will they break him, or will his love for Hoai Ca be the strength that keeps him standing? And Hoai Ca, after everything, what will she choose? Will she continue holding Hung's hand through the storms, seek the safe embrace of Ha, or forgive diep, the man who once abandoned her? Everything is becoming more complicated, and today's episode will reveal the secrets that could change it all. Stay tuned until the end of the video to find out what awaits Hoai Ca, Hùng, and the men who love her. Today, at Mother Ha's humble home, the atmosphere was more lively than usual. A frail little boy from the neighborhood, dressed in worn-out clothes, was carried in by his mother. His legs were swollen and covered in bruises. The family was so poor they couldn't even afford a bus ticket to the hospital. In her desperation, the boy's mother turned to Mother Ha, the woman everyone in the area trusted for her skilled hands and deep knowledge of traditional medicine. The moment she heard the call for help, Mother Ha didn't hesitate. She immediately fetched the pouches of herbs she had carefully stored in the attic. Hoai Ca quickly stepped in to help, preparing hot water, bandages, and freshly picked medicinal herbs from the forest behind the house. Even though she was still exhausted from her own struggles, she patiently stayed by the boy's side, not missing a single detail. Just then, Hùng appeared. His police uniform was still dusty from the road, sweat clinging to his forehead, but he hurried in without a word. Rolling up his sleeves, he carried the basin of warm water, gently laid the boy down, and carefully helped Mother Ha apply the herbal remedies. Every time the boy winced in pain, Hùng bent down and comforted him, his voice unexpectedly soft, a stark contrast to his usual tough exterior. Day after day, they took turns caring for the child. Hoai Ca woke up at dawn to grind the herbs, while Hùng stopped by after every shift to check on the boy's wounds. In those quiet moments, though he didn't say a word, the way Hùng looked at Hoai Ca was filled with something deep and unspoken. And Ha, the quiet man of the house, stood at a distance, silently watching, always ready to lend a hand whenever it was needed. Slowly, the swelling in the boy's legs began to fade. From lying still in pain, he could now smile whenever Mother Ha told him old folk tales. In that small kitchen, the scent of herbs mixed with the boy's innocent laughter, bringing back a warmth this house hadn't felt in a long time. And then, in that very moment, amid the debts, the worries, and the tangled feelings left unresolved, Hùng suddenly realized. That day, when the boy's mother returned to Mother Ha's house to visit her son, she couldn't hide her emotions. The boy, once frail and pale, now had a rosy complexion, and his clear eyes sparkled with joy. Though his legs were still weak, when his mother helped him up, he managed to take a few small, wobbly steps, something that had seemed impossible just weeks ago. Seeing this, the boy's mother burst into tears. She grabbed Mother Ha's hands, trembling. "If it weren't for you, if it weren't for all of you, my son wouldn't be like this today. I truly don't know how I could ever repay you." Mother Ha simply gave a gentle smile, her rough hands softly patting the woman's shoulder, while Hoai Ca hurriedly helped the boy sit down and carefully checked the wound that was now beginning to heal. Hùng stood quietly behind them, watching the warm scene unfold, his eyes softening after days weighed down by work and crushing debt. Then, suddenly, the boy's mother timidly pulled out an old woven basket and revealed a single chicken, likely the only one her family owned. Placing it in front of Mother Ha, she said with a choked voice, "I'm poor. I have nothing but this chicken. Please take it. It's all I can offer as a token of my gratitude." The small room fell silent. Hoai Ca quickly shook her head, and Hùng stepped forward, gently pushing the basket back toward her. Keep it for your son. He still needs the nourishment. We helped because we couldn't just stand by and do nothing. Mother Ha added softly. I won't be at ease until that boy can walk properly again. Don't speak of repayment, we're neighbors. Helping each other is simply what we must do. Hearing those words, the boy's mother broke down in tears, hugging her child tightly. The boy looked around with innocent, glimmering eyes. Perhaps, from this very moment, he had learned what true kindness really was. In that small house, the golden rays of sunset streamed through the wooden window, falling upon faces filled with warmth and compassion. And in that very moment, Hoai Ca suddenly realized. ChatGPT said. Du had gradually come to accept reality and felt more at ease knowing that Hoai Ca was safe at Ha's house. In the beginning, he was constantly worried, afraid that she might face more hardships. But after witnessing with his own eyes how Ha and his mother treated Hoai Ca and Tony like family, Du's heart finally felt lighter. Although Du still carried deep feelings for Hoai Ca, he chose to step back rather than force his way into her life. Instead, he spent his time caring for Tony, taking him on walks and teaching him simple games. On certain afternoons, Tony would run around the yard, laughing and calling out Uncle Du in his sweet little voice, filling the house with joy and laughter. During these days at Ha's house, Hoai Ca couldn't shake her worry for Hung. It had been several days since he last visited. She didn't know how his work was going or whether he was managing to deal with the mountain of debt his mother had left behind. Sometimes, in the quiet of the night, Hoai Ca would find herself staring out the window, her eyes filled with longing, as if waiting for a familiar figure to appear at the village gate. Ha and his mother both noticed her unease. Mother Ha, with her gentle voice, often reassured her. Don't worry too much, dear. Hung is strong. He'll find a way. You just focus on taking care of Tony and helping out around the house. Everything will work itself out. Ha was less talkative, but whenever he saw Hoai Ca lost in thought, he always found ways to keep her busy, asking her to help his mother prepare meals or join him in harvesting melons from the garden. Even under the scorching sun, Hoai Ca would follow him, carefully picking the ripest melons. Sweat dampened her clothes, but her eyes seemed brighter, as if she had found a small piece of peace in this simple rural life. However, because Ha feared that the troublemakers in the village might still be watching Hoai Ca after what had happened before, he firmly refused to let her go to the market to sell melons. He took on that burden himself, harvesting and selling them on his own. Hoai Ca wanted to help at first, but seeing how determined he was to protect her, she quietly stayed home, preparing warm meals so he would have something to eat when he returned. Tony, meanwhile, was always by his mother's side. Some afternoons, the little boy would run out into the fields, his laughter echoing in the breeze, filling Ha's house with warmth. Mother Ha would simply smile, a knowing smile, the kind only someone who had lived a long, wise life could wear, as if she foresaw that these peaceful days were merely the calm before great changes. The most surprising thing of all was that Du and Hung, two men who loved Hoai Ca, did not clash as everyone had expected. Instead, they treated each other with an almost unspoken respect. Hung understood that Du had once been a part of Hoai Ca's past, and Du, in turn, saw clearly that Hung was the one now carrying the weight to protect her in the present. Sometimes, they even discussed ways to help Hoai Ca, from preparing medicine for the neighbor's little boy to handling small chores around the house. Ha remained the same, quiet but steadfast, a pillar for everyone. He didn't speak much, but whenever Hoai Ca was tired, he was the one who quietly prepared a bowl of hot porridge or silently changed the broken light bulb in the kitchen without being asked. Amid this simple life at Mother Ha's home, even with the tangled emotions and overlapping feelings, there was a strange sense of harmony. Hoai Ca didn't know how to face the three men who were all willing to sacrifice everything for her. And then, on one windy afternoon, the man who once saved Hoai Ca from the brink of death, was no longer the same reckless drifter he used to be. The days spent caring for her, from bandaging every wound to staying up all night in worry when she had a fever, had quietly planted something in his heart he never expected: love. In the past, Ha was notorious in the village for his aimless life, wandering with friends, drowning in debts, and bringing endless shame to his family. But since Hoai Ca came into his life, everything had changed. She was like a quiet light that illuminated the deepest corners of his soul, pulling him out of those dark, wasted days. Now, Ha was different. He rose early every morning to work in the fields. Each time he glanced back and saw Hoai Ca following him, her face glistening with sweat, but still wearing that gentle smile, his heart tightened. Her presence gave him the strength to cast aside his old pride, abandon meaningless indulgences, and choose a simple but genuine life. Not only that, Ha now personally brought his crops to the market to sell. He no longer cared about the judgmental stares or whispers behind his back. All he knew was that every coin he earned came from his own honest effort, and that was something he could be proud of. And Hoai Ca, she was always there behind him, quietly tidying up, preparing everything so that when he returned, there was always warmth waiting for him. Yet, ever since Hoai Ca regained her memory, Ha understood the distance between them had been set in stone. He knew his feelings for her would have to remain unspoken. Because beside her, there was still Hung, the man who had risked everything to protect her, and Du, who was an unerasable part of her past. But even if it meant standing silently in the shadows, Ha chose this path. He believed that sometimes, to love someone was not to possess them, but to protect them, even if it meant sacrificing your own heart. And then, in the midst of those seemingly peaceful days, one quiet evening, seeing Hoai Ca being loved and cared for by Hung, Ha, though feeling a pang of heartache, was oddly at peace. He knew that as long as Hoai Ca was happy, every sacrifice he made was worth it. And so, as if to fill the void of unspoken feelings, Ha poured all his affection into Tony, the innocent child who had unknowingly become an irreplaceable part of his life. Tony seemed to adore Ha just as much. Every morning, the boy would run over, calling Uncle Ha with his clear little voice and eyes sparkling like stars. Ha would scoop him up, take him to school, and give him careful instructions as if Tony were his own son. On days when Tony came home tired from school, Ha would quietly buy his favorite treat, placing it gently on the table without saying a word. Ha's mother noticed it all. She didn't say much, but in her aged eyes was a quiet, steady pride. She knew her son had changed, once a reckless drifter, now a responsible man who understood work, love, and sacrifice. One evening, when it was just the two of them, Ha's mother sighed softly, her voice warm and full of compassion. Ha, I know you care for Hoai Ca, but some things in life can't be forced. Seeing you change like this already makes me happy. Just live with kindness, my son. I believe heaven will not forsake you. Ha said nothing. He didn't argue, didn't justify himself. He simply nodded, his gaze fixed on the yard outside, where Tony was playing with Hoai Ca. In that moment, he knew he would stay the course, remain the silent guardian standing behind them, even if the feelings in his heart would never be spoken. And Ha's mother, though she understood it all, silently thanked Hoai Ca. She believed that if not for her, Ha would never have transformed this much. Her only wish now was that, even if this love could never bloom, Hoai Ca would still remain in her son's life, like a steady light guiding him forward. In the past, when Hoai Ca had lost her memory, Ha was the one who stayed by her side through the darkest days of her life. He was the man who saved her from the brink of death, then tenderly cared for her every meal and every restless night. When she once wandered off and got lost in the foggy mountain paths, Ha dropped everything, frantically searching for her. That image of him, soaked in rain, gasping for breath, his eyes red with worry, was etched deeply into Hoai Ca's heart, leaving her profoundly moved. There were moments when Hoai Ca thought, if not for the past, if not for the memories of Hung, perhaps she could have fallen for Ha. Because with him, she felt a sense of peace and safety she had long yearned for. But when her memories returned, the love she had for Hung, the love she thought was gone, came rushing back, fierce and unyielding, as if it had never faded. She knew that with Ha, those feelings could only remain as gratitude and respect. She didn't want to hurt him, nor did she want to deceive her own heart. Deep down, the man she loved, the one she wished to hold hands with for the rest of her life, had always been Hung. And now, especially with Hung struggling under the crushing weight of the debts his mother left behind, her love for him only grew stronger. Hoai Ca no longer loved him only with her heart, but also with her resolve to understand and share his burdens. She carefully looked after Tony, managed every meal, every expense, just so Hung could focus on facing the hardships that loomed over him. On quiet nights, Hoai Ca would sit silently by the window, clutching the scarf Hung had once given her. She believed that no matter how hard things became, as long as love remained, she and Hung would endure it all. And above all, she silently felt grateful to Ha, the man who had unknowingly helped her become the strong woman she was today, even if they both knew his feelings would forever remain buried, unspoken. Yet, what she never expected was that her choice was about to drag them all into a turning point none of them could have foreseen. ChatGPT said, "Today, Hoai Ca suddenly felt a heavy weight in her heart. The longing for home, for the land where she and Hung had once worked so hard to build their life together, came rushing back stronger than ever. She thought of the cornfield they had planted long ago, which must now be ripe and golden, waiting to be harvested. She hesitantly expressed her desire to return, but deep down, she was afraid that the old memories would only make her heart ache again." Hung listened quietly, saying nothing and simply nodded. He took a day off from work just to bring Hoai Ca back to that place, the place that held their first love and all the unforgettable memories they once shared. The road back to their old home seemed longer than ever. When they finally arrived, Hoai Ca stood still for a moment, her eyes stinging with tears. Before her stood the old house, worn by time yet still carrying the warmth of the past. The cornfield was now lush and heavy with golden ears, as if waiting for the touch of the hands that once nurtured it. Side by side, she and Hung began harvesting, their hands brushing against each other, and in that fleeting moment, it felt as though they had returned to those simple, blissful days. During a short break, Hoai Ca gazed around the land, every corner overflowing with memories, Hung tirelessly fixing the leaky roof during a storm, Hoai Ca saving every penny to buy new seeds, and the countless nights they spent sitting together, dreaming of a better future. Everything came flooding back, filling her heart with bittersweet emotion. Worried, Hoai Ca turned to Hung. What about the debts? How are you managing them now?" Hung gave a faint smile, though weariness lingered in his eyes. He admitted honestly that he had borrowed from everywhere he could and had managed to pay off 70%, but the remaining 30% was still a heavy burden. Hearing this, Hoai Ca hesitated for a moment before suggesting, If we sold this house or this land, wouldn't it ease the burden for you?" But Hung shook his head, his gaze unwavering. "No, this isn't just land, it's not just a house, it's where everything began. I owe you so much, Hoai Ca. I won't sell the one thing that ties me to you. No matter how hard it gets, I'll find a way to manage." Those words made Hoai Ca's heart tremble. She looked at Hung, the man who had once caused her pain because of his family's mistakes, but now all the old resentment had vanished. Standing before her was a man who was strong, filial, and willing to bear any burden just to protect what was most sacred for their love. Hoai Ca instinctively tightened her grip on his hand and gently nodded. In her eyes now, there was no blame, no bitterness toward his mother, only love, understanding, and an unshakable faith that this man was the one she could trust for the rest of her life. Yet neither of them knew this seemingly peaceful trip back home was about to uncover a shocking secret they had never imagined. Hung silently gazed at Hoai Ca, the woman he loved with every fiber of his being. In his eyes, she wasn't just someone he wanted to protect. She was the very reason he could stand strong amidst life's relentless storms. He knew all too well how much she had suffered, not only because of him but also because of his mother, the one who had left wounds so deep they might never fully heal. Hoai Ca. Hung gently held her hand, his voice low but unwavering. "I know you've endured far too much, but I swear I'll never let you suffer another scar again. My mother, even if she's my own blood, if she's done wrong, I won't hide it. She will face the consequences, and if that means the police have to take her away, then so be it. I'll let the law decide. Hearing those words, Hoai Ca's heart trembled. She had never expected Hùng to speak with such firmness. A part of her ached for him, because after all, his mother was still the woman who gave him life. But another part of her felt a profound warmth. Because this man, despite having to choose between family and justice, chose to stand by her, the woman he loved. Lowering her gaze, tears silently rolled down her cheeks. She loved Hùng deeply, but at the same time, she couldn't help but feel a quiet sorrow for herself, a woman who had endured so much loss and pain, yet was only now daring to believe that love could still exist in this world. Hùng wrapped his arms around her, holding her as if letting go would mean losing her forever. I won't let you be afraid anymore, he whispered. As long as you're by my side, I'll handle everything else. In his embrace, Hoai Ca said nothing. She simply closed her eyes and rested her head against his broad shoulder. Though countless challenges still lay ahead, in this moment, she believed that with Hùng beside her, she would never have to walk alone again. But neither of them knew. Those promises they thought were unshakable were about to be tested by an unexpected storm, one that would force them to make the hardest choice of their lives. So then, will Hùng and Hoai Ca's love be strong enough to withstand every storm that lies ahead? Will the sacrifices, forgiveness, and unwavering trust they have for each other guide them toward a truly happy ending? And what about the good-hearted ones, the ones who chose love, chose to stand for what's right? Will they finally receive the happiness they deserve? As for the wrongdoers, those who sowed pain, betrayal, and cruelty, will they be forced to bow before the law and pay for every sin they've committed? All of it remains a mystery. But one thing is certain, what lies ahead will be a turning point no one could ever predict. Stay tuned for the next episode, where love, faith, and justice will all speak louder than ever before.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình tiếp tục đưa đến mọi người câu chuyện tình yêu của mẹ đơn thân Ly Hoai Ca và cảnh sát Hùng nha mọi người. Như mọi người cũng biết thì ở tập trước mẹ đơn thân Ly Hoai Ca đã vướng trong một cuộc tình, cũng không hẳn là một cuộc tình, nhưng mà hiện tại thì có tận 3 người đàn ông dành tình cảm và yêu thương đến cô. Đây cũng là một may mắn rất lớn cho một người mẹ đơn thân khi có những người đàn ông bên cạnh che chở và giúp đỡ. Tuy nhiên thì đối với Đô thì mọi chuyện đã trôi qua rất lâu rồi, và lại Hoài Ca cũng không còn tình cảm với Đô. Với Hùng thì cô đã rất yêu Hùng sâu đậm, và trong khoảng thời gian mất trí nhớ thì cô có nảy sinh một chút tình cảm đối với Hà, người đàn ông mà đã cứu cô. Vậy thì Hoài Ca sẽ chọn ai giữa 3 người đàn ông này, và liệu diễn biến câu chuyện sẽ tiếp tục đưa về đâu thì mọi người hãy đăng ký kênh, sau đó bật chuông thông báo lên để không bỏ lỡ bất kỳ video nào ở những tập tiếp theo nha mọi người. Tạm biệt.